Well, welcome everyone to the latest edition of the Gary Neville Podcast, which takes place as Arsenal complete their lap of appreciation after a 1-0 win against Burnley, which takes them, Gary, to within one more win of being the champions. How have you seen it tonight?
They got the job done in a typical Arsenal way this season, and like you say, I think what they put themselves through. But they seem calm right the way to the end. I have to say, they're very comfortable defending a 1-0 lead. I just never... I mean, we did win 1-0 at times, but I never played in a team that was ever comfortable at 1-0 because it was not sort of our DNA or our sort of feeling to do that. But this team are really patient. They're solid. They're reliable defensively. They trust the goalkeeper, their centre-backs, Declan Rice in front of them. And right now, they're a very, 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 very strong defensive unit that are difficult to break down. You said before the game, it's got because he one goal in 5 or 6.
Yeah, well, it's more than that actually.
Yeah, so
that is their 13th win by a 1-goal margin.
Yeah, 13th goal by one. It's just really difficult to play that way. So there is admiration that I've got for them, but they don't have to make it bloody hard for themselves. I mean, they're playing Burnley at home, and the things that obviously, look, it's not a time for talking about this because it'll come again, I suppose, in pre-season. But the urgency and the ability to play forward quicker and sort of make sure that you drive outcomes towards sort of what would be 2-0 up. 2-0's fine, then you can start to play and relax. But 1-0, I just think that you're asking for trouble. And tonight, Burnley weren't able to cause them a problem. And I think that will be enough to get them over the line. I mean, the sensational news that's breaking about Pep Guardiola, I can't get out of my head. I mean, that's like a game changer for English football, the impact that he's had. But yeah, for Arsenal, they got the job done and they can now relax and watch Manchester City tomorrow night go to Bournemouth, and that's tough for Manchester City. Tough because they're coming off the back of sort of what will be a cup final, but Bournemouth are a very good side. Iriola's last game at Bournemouth at home, and they can still qualify for the Champions League. So there's a game where they've got a lot on it, Bournemouth. So yeah, I think we could be seeing the champions out there tonight, and they may already be champions when we get to Selhurst Park on Sunday.
They have what is not unique, because you've been there, but very, very few have. They have this situation where their next 2 games are trophy games.
Yeah.
You know, one for the Premier League and one, barring a City defeat tomorrow, but one for the Premier League, one for the European Cup.
Yeah. I mean,
how does that feel? How will they deal with this week and this fortnight?
Yeah, I mean, look, the momentum that they've got and the excitement and anticipation should just be it is. You can see it in them out there on the pitch, on the lap that they're doing around the ground. And this has been 5 years, 6 years in the making. This is not about just this season. This team, this coach, have been waiting and waiting for this moment whereby it's in their hands with 1 game to go. They've had it pulled back from them 2 or 3 times in the last 4 seasons whereby they've just fallen short. And the big question that I've been asking, and many have been asking for the last 2 or 3 years, can they get over the line? Because if they don't, trust me, it becomes a big problem. It'll define you and define what you are and your legacy. Become a champion. Mikel Arteta become a champion manager, and it's a game changer. All of a sudden, the authority that they have, the fact that they can go the distance, they can beat a Pep Guardiola Manchester City team to a title, which is no mean feat. And they're on the brink. They're right on the brink now, and I can't see how they're going to waste this opportunity.
And he is getting it right, isn't he? Nobody can argue with that. Havertz came in for Gyökeres today. Havertz is the match winner. He shifted things around in midfield. Ødegaard came back. People felt Lewis Skelly was undroppable, but he found a solution for a particular game, and it all seems to be working at the moment.
Yeah, and look, the coach rotates. I can't disagree with coach rotating. We played in a team that rotated all the time, and a squad that rotated all the time. And many managers say, I trust my squad, but then they don't go and use the players in big matches. This was a big match tonight. But I think Mikel Arteta will have wanted more goal threat. I'm sure he'll have wanted more goal threat. And they just have this habit of playing sideways and backwards. And Saliba and Gabriel, who are excellent defenders, I couldn't speak highly enough about them. But they should be on the ball as little as possible. Not just necessarily little as possible in terms of passes and touches, but the time that they spend on the ball should be limited. And I was like that. I played a service game for 20 years of my career. My job was to get the ball to the most talented players on the pitch as quickly as I possibly could. And sometimes I see them just sort of dilly-dallying on it at the back. And sometimes Declan does it in central midfield. He can pass it, by the way, as well. And I think, oh, come on, it just drives me crazy. It's a different way of operating. They're trying to draw the opposition out rather than sort of what would be, push it around them and shift them from side to side and probe. And they do it sometimes, and they do it effectively, particularly in this right channel with Ødegaard and Saka when they combine with Mosquera today, but sometimes it's better when it's with White and Timber. But yeah, they just don't do it enough. Gyökeres, I think when he came on, showed some urgency. He's got a real threat. He looks like he's physically very good in this moment. I'm sure he'll play in the last 2 matches. And obviously saving Lewis Skelly and Gyökeres and their legs for these last 2 huge matches has been a wise move, because as you say, Mikel Arteta, he's timing his run. And he's had experience now of these last few years of title run-ins, and this time it looks like he's getting it spot on.
We have to address the one contentious issue, the one really contentious issue around that Kai Havertz challenge, which you said at the time you thought was probably worthy of a red card.
Yeah, I thought it was a red card. From a professional footballer's perspective, and I'm not being arrogant there and dismissing what fans would view it as or what anybody else would, but you know what you're doing when you put your studs onto a standing leg at that height. You're looking at ankle breaking, you're looking at leg breaking there. That's a challenge that can sort of really endanger an opponent and really cause them harm. And it's vicious and it's nasty. It's a nasty one. And people might say, oh, it's nothing, it's just a... But honestly, trust me as a player, if you have that kind of challenge against you, you think, you know what I mean? That could have been, in the 80s, a challenge like that, and they've been fighting. You've been fighting because you're trying to harm someone. Nowhere near the ball, no intent to play the ball, not sort of case the ball's there and it's gone and then you end up going over. It was just a clear, wasn't a trip either, one of them ones where you just leg someone up like you do in your school playground, just legged up. No, it wasn't that one, it was one of them ones where, and no, I didn't like it. So I thought it was a red, and do you know something, that could have caused Arsenal a big problem in this last 20 minutes, and Mikel Arteta did the right thing and got him off straight away. Because if he's looking at his monitor, which his coaches will have been down there, they'll have said, one more little altercation with Havertz and he's gone. So they couldn't take that. I mean, that was the only risk that they had tonight. I don't know what's going on down there, by the way. Is it like a group photo that they're having with all the families and the players?
Yes.
All right, that's nice.
So, Gary, let's just read the last few days of the season then. All the 3 pertinent matches. We've got Bournemouth, Manchester City, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Manchester City, Aston Villa. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, look, I've got huge respect for Manchester City and what they've achieved over the last 10 years and what Pep Guardiola's done. And honestly, if they were to go tomorrow night to Bournemouth and win, that would be really big, that. Because, you know something, they must be sort of thinking now, it's slipped away from us. But we always used to say, keep the opposition honest. Keep Arsenal honest. And Pep Guardiola will be saying, look, you've seen them against Burnley. By the way, when they go to Crystal Palace on Sunday, there'll be no favours there, as much as Crystal Palace are playing in a Conference League game, and that's what all the talk's about. Sometimes it can, if it's 1-0 at Crystal Palace with 5 minutes to go, and those home fans are there, and they get them behind the goal, and there's a corner, and before you know it, the league can just come away from you, and Manchester City have won it in that way, obviously, in the past. So it's about Manchester City doing their job tomorrow night, and that's a big, big, big ask, because even at their best, Manchester City, it's a tough place to go, Bournemouth, but obviously they can win there. They've got fantastic players, but that's the big one. I see both teams winning on Sunday. I really do. But the big question is whether it goes to Sunday and whether City can beat Bournemouth in 24 hours. OK,
and that, of course, will be resolved one way or another tomorrow live on Sky Sports, when you can also, by the way, choose to watch Chelsea and Spurs, which has its own agenda. If Spurs win, they're safe and West Ham go down. We are obliged to look at your Monday Night Football awards, Gary, and compare them with Jamie Carragher's, which will be done sort of digitally, face to face.
I beat him on the predictions for this season. I know that. Yeah, he's not done that well again.
So I've got a list in front of me. You can give your winner in each category, and Explain it. And where it differs with Jamie, I suppose I'll have to put Jamie's point of view, or try to.
Please do.
I won't be as good as him. But there we go. So your player of the year was?
The player of the year for me was Bruno Fernandes. Just going level with Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne on those 20 assists. I know people all of a sudden have started saying, well, assists mean nothing and all that sort of stuff, but it's only been done by 2 players before, and those players are pretty good. And I think just Manchester United's rebirth in this second half of the season, and it's largely down to him. Just the way in which he plays, his confidence in a team that have struggled for the first 4 months, 5 months of the season, that obviously lost a manager. And I think he's just been the standout player and someone who I think has shone. I think there have been really... But, I mean, Patrick Vieira said before the game, and I don't disagree with it, that David Raya should be the player of the season. That's probably my thinking in some ways, historically, that, you know, the goalkeeper for Arsenal is probably their most important player, along with their 2 centre-backs and Rice. And you could give it to any of those 4 because they've been really solid, but we tend to just look towards the more creative players, don't we? And the other one is Bernardo Silva's been outstanding at Manchester City. Thiago, special mention for what he's achieved at Brentford. Not necessarily saying he's an amazing player, but the achievement's big. You've got to say that's a big achievement at Brentford to do that. Haaland, obviously, golden boot again. So, yeah. Look, I think Bruno, in a season where it's not been a show-stopping season for Premier League in terms of standards, you know, the points are down and everybody can beat each other, which is good for us, and it's been competitive, it's been interesting. But I think Bruno Fernandes, for me, is the player. Who's Carra's, by the way?
Carra was Declan Rice.
Okay.
Who might be a European champion in a couple of weeks, and you can see his point.
And I can't disagree with it. If someone said to me, Bernardo Silva, Declan Rice, Gabriel, David Raya, I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, you're wrong, you're out of order. I mean, we're talking about fine margins here, and it's a personal preference, and you know, I can't argue with the sort of selection of Declan Rice. I think particularly if they go on and win the league and go and win a Champions League, then you know, I may look a little bit stupid, because at that point you'd be saying that is an exceptional achievement.
You came to the same answer when it was down to young player. Who is?
Nico O'Reilly.
Because?
What a player. I still can't get my head around. You'll remember it, Peter, a moment in the Carabao Cup final over in that far corner where I think he skipped through about... it wasn't. It was against Arsenal at the Etihad, over in that far corner where he skipped through about 2 or 3 players. I still can't get my head around that. And then the Carabao Cup final, the 2 goals. You don't do that. Honestly, I've been a fullback that's broken through at the age of sort of 18, 19, 20 into the first team and played for England. So I've been on that journey that he's on exactly, where I've gone straight into the England first team after 30 games, 25, 30 games. But not like that. Not in the way in which he's like a Rolls Royce when he's like Gareth Bale when he goes forward, and like Paolo Maldini when he defends.
That's not bad.
No, I honestly, and yeah, I just can't envisage how fullback has changed that much when you've got this presence and this confidence and this belief in such a young player, and he's been magnificent to watch. Yeah, definitely for me the young player of the year.
Best signing?
Best signing, I went for Xhaka at Sunderland. Impact, big impact. I mean, there's been a number of decent signings for clubs and that have done well, but you think of how hard it's been for clubs that have come up to stay in the Premier League, and he's had an enormous influence on that Sunderland team. So for me, I went for him. What did Carra go for?
Ryan Cherky.
I think I'm right there.
Well, you're coming from very different directions, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I love Cherky. I think he's been...
It's comparing apples and pears, really.
He is, yeah. And look, Cherky's been wonderful this last few months. I don't think he played for a large part of the season, though, did he?
Not as much as he has in the second half of the season, no.
So, yeah, have a look at his appearances, Carra, if you can. Thanks.
My problem is I haven't prepped these, Gary. You had a chance to think about it. So I'm not really doing Carra any good service here. Your most improved player?
Most improved player I named, I always have bias towards fullbacks. And I nearly put him in my team. I think Carra did put him in his team of the season, was Mateus Nunes. Mateus Nunes. I thought he looked like a I'm going to be quite disrespectful here, but I think City fans will know. I mean, look, he looked like a bit of a flimsy midfield player that didn't really have the presence. And then when he went to full-back, you're thinking, oh, they're trying to shoehorn him into full-back. The classic sort of midfield player can't play midfield, so put him at full-back. I've seen it before. And when I saw him in his first few months, I saw him last season there, and I thought, I tell you what, they'll give you a chance, City. And then when you watch him this season, with the growth in him, he's athletic, he looks stronger, he's obviously got his confidence, which comes with playing. And Pep Guardiola has a habit of getting performances out of players that you think maybe are not as good as they look. And this season he looks like a brilliant right back, someone who's aggressive, who goes forward, who actually at times understands the position, defends his back post reasonably well for someone who's probably not played there his whole career. And for me, there's been big improvements in him. So he was the one that, I had him down here in terms of the standards that City are at as a fullback. You think what Kyle Walker's done there for years, and Zabaleta before, two absolutely outstanding fullbacks. And Matheus Nunes has done brilliantly. So yeah, I'm putting him as my most improved player, even though I did pick Timber in my team of the season as the right back. Just felt overall, and though he's not played the last month or two, that he's been fantastic.
And Carroll went for Jeremy Doku.
Most improved?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. Again, very different types of players. Yeah. So manager
of the year, I think I went Arteta, didn't I?
No, Jamie did.
Oh, who have I gone for?
You've gone for Daniel Farke, according to the list I've been given.
Manager of the year?
Yeah.
Is it most improved manager?
It just says manager.
Oh,
here.
I think, no, that wasn't the question. It was best coaching performance or something like that.
There's another one that says coaching performance, for which you've gone for Iraola.
Oh, right. I think I've got my stuff mixed up.
Oh, dear. Well, tell us who you think the manager of the year is.
I'll stick with Farke. I think I've probably misunderstood the questions as it's been sent to me. Do you know the reason I thought there was a most improved manager? No, I'll tell you what I did. I know exactly what I did. It was most improved, and I put player Matheus Nunes and Farke manager. So I've put the most improved manager and most improved player as Nunes and Farke. Farke because basically he was done and he's been relegated a couple of times before. So for him to keep Leeds up, and I remember going back to Leeds sort of in those games, middle of the winter, and they were on the brink of sacking him. So for me, yeah, that's why I've got mixed up there. I've meant most improved manager and most improved player of Farke and Nunes. And then on the manager coaching performance, I put Iraola, just losing his three defenders and then getting them to where they are. But manager of the year, I think, is Arteta. So, look, you can work out that, Cara. He can whinge about my answers if he wants.
Okay. And in amongst all of that, and this could play into any conversation about manager of the year, actually, your overachievers. You've come with the same answer, the two of you, on this
Bournemouth.
one.
Brentford.
Brentford, yeah.
Brentford I went for, yes. I had Brentford as being potential strugglers, having lost, obviously, Thomas Frank and thinking that would be a hammer blow to them. So for what Keith Andrews has done, and from what I thought they would do, absolutely they're my overachievers, and they've had a sensational season and deserve great credit.
And your underachievers?
I think everybody's underachievers are Spurs, aren't they?
Except Jamie.
He's not gone for Spurs.
No, it won't surprise you to hear he's gone for Liverpool.
Yeah, but he had his ambition or his aspiration for what he thought they would be was too high. So he started. I had them as potentially missing out on the Champions League.
It's a calculation against expectation, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
and I didn't have them winning the league. I think I did have them just in the Champions League, but I'm not surprised that they're in 4th and 5th and that type of position. So, no, I mean, that's not right. Tottenham have got to be the underachievers in everybody's book, I would imagine.
Yeah. Although they actually have had a very similar season to last year, as it turns out.
I know, but they're serial underachievers. They're really good at underachieving.
Okay, your goal of the season.
I think I went Szoboszlai, did I?
You
free
did.
kick
Against Arsenal.
Yeah, it was a special strike, that. I'm trying to think of others. Can you challenge me on that?
Well, because I'm doing this blind, so I haven't really had any thought. I like Jamie's one. He's gone with Harry Wilson's goal against Crystal Palace.
Okay.
For Fulham, which was great.
Yeah.
I find very often in these things, Gary, it's scored in a game which we don't remember it. Not necessarily one of the big games. You get a brilliant goal, don't you?
Yeah.
And you might have picked any of Szoboszlai's three mighty free kicks, mightn't you?
Yeah, that one against Arsenal, I just felt on that day, it was big, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To beat Raya. I just think as well, the one thing I thought of this morning was the goalkeeper that you're playing against. I mean, you can't get anything past Raya. It's difficult. So to get it past him from there, I think, I'm comfortable with my selection on that one.
And your favourite game? And oddly enough, both of you have gone with Manchester United wins. He has gone with a Manchester United win.
Against?
Here, at Arsenal.
And I went with the City one.
You went with the Derby win at Old Trafford.
Yeah, that was the first one in Michael Carrick's tenure, wasn't it? The City game at home. And then the second one was the Arsenal game. I just thought the City performance was breathtaking in a time whereby United had been knocked out of the FA Cup the week before. They'd drawn at Burnley maybe. And then obviously they had the desperation under Ruben Amorim before that. Those two games I just mentioned then, Brighton and Burnley were under Darren Fletcher. There was just no expectation that Manchester United would go and play like that. Forget the result. I mean, anything can happen in a game. You could win a game, but just the performance. And I just remember screaming when that second goal went in, sort of very loudly, and sort of being told off after the game. Gary,
you never learn, do you?
No, but you can't help it. That's just a moment of absolute bliss. It was like, where's this come from? And it wasn't just like you say, the 2-0 and the result. It was the performance that day. I thought it was a brilliant. It was the turnaround moment for Manchester United. So that was my favourite game for the season. I mean, Carra's game here the week after, where you think they're coming to Arsenal, let's see what they can do, and then they win at Arsenal, was fantastic. But for me, it was the City game that really I enjoyed most.
And I wonder, from the point of view of sort of crazy entertainment, whether you're 4-4 Man United Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, yeah.
Yeah, they've been a very good watch, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that game was crazy, and I mean, that game was madness. But what you were watching from United around that time was madness, full stop. But it was, and Bournemouth have they've just got that ability to go and not care. And whoever they're playing, they don't care who they're playing. They don't sort of what would be bow to anybody. And that's the way in which English football should be, where teams think they can come and have a right go. And Burnley tonight have actually, at Arsenal, they've come and done the very best that they can. I think we're just seeing the Burnley coach here now talking, and I think he'll be proud of the way in which his team have set up tonight and the way in which they've approached the game. I mean, we can sit here and say be a bit more creative, but the Hannibal shot from 25 yards in the second half, and then there was another one, wasn't there, that near the edge of the box, where they're the sort of half chances, and maybe from set pieces and corners. They had a couple that you think, well, we could have done better. But Bournemouth do have a right go, and that 4-4 was pretty special to watch.
Yeah, it was. I wish I'd been better equipped to challenge you, Gary. I'm sorry I wasn't. You've had a clear ride here. If you'd like to say anything else to abuse Cara, feel free.
I've had enough challenge over the years, Peter, from people. I don't need any more challenge. We're past that. I mean, at the start of the season, you make predictions and you really haven't got a clue about a lot of things. But I did predict that Arsenal would win the league, and I predicted that Manchester United would get into the top 4 with Liverpool. I think I did put Chelsea in there, which ends up looking like a mistake, but for good reason. So I think I had Villa in there, maybe. No, I had City, United, Liverpool and Arsenal, and then I had Chelsea rather than Villa. So, but anyway, it's we're on the brink of the end of the season now, and like you say, this is what really matters. This next few days will sort out the Premier League champions, and I think it feels right, the right moment, doesn't it, for Arsenal? They've waited long enough. They've been on a journey of stages and steps and disappointments and ups and downs, but lots of downs at the end of the season, of being mocked, of being laughed at, of being ridiculed, of told that they're never going to get there, that told that they're sort of always going to be the bridesmaids and never the bride. But this is a game changer for this football club, an unbelievable football club, 22 years without a Premier League trophy, and on Sunday I think that they'll go and finish the job off, if they've not already in their minds celebrated tomorrow night. There were many times where we won the league when we weren't playing and other teams dropped points, and they were really good surprise nights, those ones.
Effectively, it's a weekend off, isn't
Effectively,
it?
training was cancelled the next day all of a sudden. We were all round in each other's houses or in Manchester, and it was, the greatest nights of your life. And, if Arsenal tomorrow night, if their players are there, I know they've got a game a week on Saturday, and they might do it differently than we used to, but we would go out. We would always go out and celebrate.
How did you celebrate the one in '99 when the Champions League final and the FA Cup final was still to come. Did you have a night out then?
We went out that night with some form of curfew placed on us that wasn't adhered to. But it was a Sunday, and we had the FA Cup final the Saturday after. So it was 6 days, and he gave us the Monday off. So we were coming in Tuesday. So we did have a good night, but wasn't the blast that we ordinarily would have done. I mean, if you win the league, you don't go to bed. Fact. Simple as that. You don't go to bed if you win the league. Now, Arsenal, to be fair, can't do that, unfortunately, because if you drink for that length of time and then go and train 2 days later, you are at real risk of injury, and they can't afford that before a Champions League final. It wasn't quite as scientific 27 years ago. 27 years ago, you thought 6 days recovery before an FA Cup final was more than enough, and it was. But we did go out on that Sunday, and rightly so. And Arsenal players tomorrow night, they should go out, in my opinion, maybe to a house or to a private place, but they should enjoy themselves and maybe stay up till 2-3 in the morning and then just relax the next day.
Good advice from someone who's been there.
Okay, brilliant.
Lovely stuff. Thanks, Gary.
Peter. Thank
Good on
you.
you.